Hey guys, welcome back. This is Oren Klaff, and we are on the game of money. If you notice, I have a chest cold. Just got back from Europe, from Italy, from France, toured the Louvre, toured the Orsay Museum, walked around the Eiffel Tower, went to the Colosseum, the Forum, St. Patrick's Cathedral. We went to Venice, the town of Bassano, been in a lot of churches, places where the language, I use words you don't necessarily find in the Bible, but we went to the churches, very respectful. It was amazing, but I learned so much about ourselves as Americans and the Europeans. Like the big thing, you start the day in America and Europe, the same, you go for the coffee, but the coffee there is so different, right? So what I do is I go, hey, look, I want a drip coffee with 2 shots of espresso. And then what ensues, when you say that, what they hear is, could you please deep fry the Mona Lisa? It's so, they don't know what you're saying. I'm like, a drip coffee, and there's a line of people, and this whole thing starts.
You even like to have them add a little extra room too, right?
Yeah, you go to Pete's Coffee, you go to Starbucks, you go to Coffee, Tea, and Bean, and you go, look, I'll take a cup of coffee with 2 shots of espresso. And they go, would you like some room? Yeah, I'd like some room. Boom, that takes 10 seconds. I get up in line, I'm like, hey, I'd like a coffee with 2 shots of espresso. And then like the national debate ensues. What do you mean? And then I'll literally have somebody go, we won't do it. They're just too proud. They won't add shots of espresso to drip because their drip is really an Americano. So they don't have a drip. They take hot water. We're going to get to the money here really quick. But they take hot water. No, you didn't dial into the new coffee and wine show.
Hey, they say coffee's for closers, right?
Coffee is for closers. So they take water and they put a shot of espresso in it, and that's what they call like a drip coffee. It's called an Americano. So I had to reframe it. I go, I'll have a California. And they go, what's a California? A California is an Americano, but 2 more shots of espresso inside. So they don't want to do it because that's like 3 or 4 shots of espresso. It doesn't make sense. I'm like, yeah, I'll just have a quad. And then and they're like, we can't do it. It's your coffee machine. It doesn't belong to the government. Just hit the button twice and let me get the quad espresso and get me out of here. I think, the point is the coffee is about a ritual, right? And over here it's about caffeine.
Yeah, like source of caffeine.
Source of caffeine. So over here we say, hey, look, I need a coffee with another 4 shots of espresso. I have a lot to do today.
Yeah, and it's almost coffee or Red Bull or Monster in America. Like you have a choice of where am I going to get that energy from?
Where am I going to get my productivity from? Increases in productivity. And there's about ritual. It's about starting the day. So their breakfast will be like a cup of coffee and a cigarette. and I'm like, I'll have egg whites, cheese on the side, kale, some steamed broccoli, like a protein shake. Or you could just put peanut butter in milk and put a banana in there.
And maybe some of the taste from another land of sushi for breakfast.
Yeah, and because they have Asian visitors there, they sometimes have sushi on the side. So I'll have sushi, I'll have milk, a banana, and some ice cubes and peanut butter mixed up, and then I'll have egg whites and some kale or broccoli. And they're like, sir, that is not breakfast. You are going to war. So the cultures, they're so different. Anyway, I like ketchup. Right? I'll even have ketchup on lobster. Hey, it's my money. Okay, it's not your money. And you can't ask them for ketchup. So it's very different. But there's they build things to last. And we have a disposable economy. So if you look at the Colosseum in Rome that we visited.
Yeah.
So the Colosseum, if you take a picture of it, or you look at a picture of it, it's like that iconic, a third of it or half of it is standing, right? The other half didn't fall down. When we learned we were there. It's not like, it stood the test of time. The whole thing would be standing, but for 200 years, it was a free Home Depot. Nobody watched over it, and if you needed building supplies, because the thing was so massive, you just go raid the Colosseum. It didn't fall down, right? If you think about it, in sadness, was it in Atlanta? Where was the Olympic Stadium? In Athens. The Olympic Stadium in Athens was in 2004?
2004, yeah.
2004?
Phelps' first year.
Yeah. So they built the Olympic Stadium in Athens, where the whole goddamn Olympics started in the first place. And it lasted 1 year. Things started falling down, and it doesn't exist today. The Colosseum was built in Rome, was built in like the year 20. If you do the math, I don't
That's
know,
so
like
good.
it's 20 AD, what's it, 2020, 2,000 years.
Yeah.
It's standing there. We went to the, we're going to get into money in a second, but we went to the Vatican while we were there. And the funniest thing, Nate and I saw the statue, if you remember, and they're like, this is a clone.
Oh,
Right?
yeah.
We're trying to put here. So this was done in 317
I thought it was 496 AD. I'll never forget.
496?
496. I remember the nice, like, write up. And I was like, whoa, is this from 496? What the heck?
This statue is from 496 AD, to 1,500 years old. But they're apologizing because it's a clone of a statue from 317 BC. So
yeah, they're like, hey, sorry, this is actually a clone.
Hey, sorry,
like,
right.
This is
Shouldn't
still
be here. It's 15 years old. It's a clone. So the sense of longevity, and that's what I love. They build things to last, and we build things to serve in the moment, and really be disposable. And that is why when you take the right thing from Italy and you bring it to the United States, you can build a multi-billion-dollar business. Luigi Cinetti brought Ferrari. Ferrari, when you think about it today, you're like, oh, I want a Ferrari. Not if you were in 1956. You did not want one. That was a crappy race car, undrivable on city streets, didn't have a good reputation, definitely had the Italian reputation of being, cool and sexy, but not lasting long. It's not something you would get or could drive, or it was just basically a race car. Ferrari had a bad reputation if you watch the movie and everything, but Luigi Cinetti brought that to the United States. And immediately, they made some modifications to make it drivable on American roads. And boom, he personally made $500 million in equivalent American dollars by bringing, right? Illy Coffee, you have never seen a commercial for Illy Coffee. Most of you don't even know what it is. Multi-billion-dollar business in the United States. It's got these little aluminum cans, says Illy on it, product after product. When you bring an Italian product to the United States and its quality, boom, you can get a multi-billion-dollar business. That's what I love. So that's why I go there and I look for these amazing products that we can take out of their culture, put in our culture, and it's the opposite of what we, our culture, we said, like, we take toothpaste and we're like, let's turn it into a recurring business model, right? Let's put it in a SPAC, take it public, load it up with debt, exit out of it, saddle it. That company will last 3 or 4 years. It will crash, become something else. Colgate will pick it up. People will lose money, but we had fun along the way, and we made money and lived it. That's the American finance model, not how can we make something better than it's ever been made before. And that's like the Italian model. And they're not like, hey, how can we spend 19 minutes figuring out how to add some new flavor, cardamom, to toothpaste, calling it something new? They spend like 30 years designing a handbag. And they're like, finally, it's done, right? And we're ready. And it's something that they invested in. It's better than anything else for reasons, and it's better than anything else for reasons you can't understand.
Right? But you know it when you see it.
You know it when you see it. You know it when you touch it. And then we were leaving, you were with us, we're leaving Rome, and we're in the airport, and we'd done a pretty good job of not buying anything. It's expensive enough to get in the Vatican and eat out. I'm not saying we didn't spend any money, but we're leaving, and here come the stores. And I'm like, do not make eye contact. Do not close your eyes. Keep walking. Sandra Bullock, and what was that movie? Where they had to blindfold themselves? Bird something. So anyway, she gets in this canoe, and it's like this mystical river, and she's blind. You can't look at anything. So I'm blindfolding my family. And they're like, let me go. And the police are coming. I'm like, do not look to the left or the right. Louis Vuitton and Prada and Hermes on the left, Ferrari store, Toomey and Rimowa on the right. And we're walking, and all of a sudden I'm like feeling, because we're all blindfolded, I can't find my wife. And then we rip off the blindfold, and she's been captured by the Hermes store. But I don't fault them. We did spend some money on the way out. The stuff they make is amazing.
And it makes you feel so good, too.
Makes you feel good.
And it brings you, it's almost like a piece of the trip. You get to bring it back home. And it
is
22% duty free.
Duty free. So they're good at making things that create desire, and it extracts money from you, and you feel good about it. I don't know if it was FDR that said, true diplomacy is telling people to go to hell and having them enjoy the journey. And this is like true commerce. I feel like in the United States, you buy something, but you begrudge it? Why was that 2x4? Why did it cost 99 cents? They can't make a 2x4 for 91 cents. Goddamn Home Depot.
You almost feel guilty about it because you didn't get it cheaper somewhere else. Or
Yeah.
you didn't do as much homework
You're
as you
like,
think you could.
I know this is cheaper somewhere else. I could drive there and how much gas would be. Like the United States we're so much about the consumerism and why can't I get it cheaper or where can't I finance it? And there, it's take my money. Why does this not cost $1,500? And if it did, I'd be fine with it. This is so enjoyable and desire, and it fills a hole in your heart. So that's really good at, and that's why I'm there looking for opportunities. But back in the States, we come back and I don't know what we decided to just strap like some dynamite to our economy, light the fuse, and we got tariffs. We're in tariff wars, and now I think ultimately, if I have to think about it, we've got volatility. And volatility is causing people to pull back. So we're seeing people pull back on investing, not sure what's going to happen with their business. So you got volatility. You have people pulling back on investment. You have the consumer who's now seeing interest rates are going to rise again. So interest rates are potentially going to rise, or they're potentially going to go down, or they're potentially going to go the same.
Yeah, economists have predicted 84 of the last 10 recessions.
So you're going to see some unknown things happen in interest rates where it felt like we were going to continue cutting.
Yeah.
And now maybe there'll be another cut, but maybe there'll be an increase. Why? Because inflation going up. The true inflation felt at the egg department, at the bread department, at the milk department, at the gas department of your lives is real. That inflation is going to, obviously, if you can't get the kind of crude we get from Canada effectively, if you can't get timber from Canada without the tariffs on it, if China retaliates and just the basic things that you're used to buying, toasters or whatever, go up, then whether it's inflation or not, but the basic cost of living feels like increasing or starts to increase, it causes the consumer to pull back. A pulling back consumer as we're cutting government workers. So you can say, okay, you cut those government workers, whether it's 100,000 or 250,000, whatever it is, and maybe they were fraudulent and maybe they were causing excess costs. And you must be reading this in the paper. I'm just trying to summarize it. But whether they were making money fraudulently or not doing a good job in the government, they were still getting paid and they were still taking that paycheck and putting in the economy. So now you fire them, right? And now they're on the job, or they're jobless. Now they're a draw on the economy. They're not putting money into the economy. And so you're going to have 0.6 of a point in GDP pullback when we were having an expanding GDP, which is where you want to be. We now may not be in full recession or stagflation yet, but these impacts are going to be felt immediately, causing everybody slow down, pump the handbrake, pull back, especially the consumer. Once the consumer gets spooked, then everything starts to slow down.
So what does it mean for you in this market environment? And I see you every day turning the risk levels up. Like when you have a chance to either lean in or lean out, when you see people running one way, you're so eager and it's almost doesn't faze you to go the opposite. What drives you? How are you able to do that?
So I think I'm looking at my notes here. They're made with a pencil, in case these are pencil notes in case I need to erase them. So I think we have some advantages when people are scaling back in the portfolio company that we have. And so if the question is like, how are we positioned to lean in when others are leaning out, when others are pulling back? So I think one, we're small, right? So sub $100 million. So we're at doing now a $20 million run rate. Goal for this year would be a $60, $70 million run rate. Pretty small. If we were public, it'd be a mini micro, super micro cap.
Yeah.
Right. And so we're small. A lot of the guys who are running $100, $200, $250 million businesses, $1 billion business, in order for them to grow in this environment, they have to put a lot of energy in that growth and cost because they have to have fully scaled marketing. They have to have fully scaled sales department, and they're in market. For us at 20, 30, 40, $50 million, we can pick small market pockets where there's still juice, right? So we're running low and lean. So for example, in our consumer products division where we make these home products, for the $50 million we have, we're just in a $5 billion segment in that market where people are just like, I just need it. I'm building my house. I need the product. I need to put the kitchen in. The other kitchen I had didn't show up. It got caught in supply chain. I just need it. How much is it? And they need it. And so we fulfill a need. I'll give you a good example of that. I looked at a company in Orange County, and they make specialized bolts for aviation, aerospace, and defense. It's like a $30 million company, right? You can buy these same bolts in China all day long, right?
So how were you looking at them?
So
How did it come to mind?
Yeah, they were looking for some capital to expand.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I got to see the business plan, and their business plan is just this. You can buy, like, titanium bolts are not hard. You can make them in China, fine, right? There's specifications. They make it to specification. But when the pandemic hits, or if you need small volume, very hard. Here's what I learned about China. China can make things cheaply, but they're not going to sell you ones or twosies. So if you need, like, motors, right? You can buy a motor at a third of the price from China, but you have to buy 100 of them. Right? You're like, I need 3.
Yeah.
Right? To run whatever in our factory. And they're like, no, you can get them for $3,000 each instead of $10,000. These electric motors that drive equipment, but you got to buy 100 of them. So China only wants large orders. They can't make small orders. So going back to this bolt company, here's their business model. Number one, we're in Orange County in California. Number two, we pick up the phone when you call and we say, hello, this is Susan. How may I help you? Speak English. And number three, you can order. It's really cool. I need 4 number 8s. I need 19 number 9s. And I need 3/4 inch, 12 millimeter in a bundle with nut and bolt of 118, right? And it's a $623 order. And they package it in, send it to you, and guess what happens? The next day, it shows up, and guess what's in the box? What you ordered.
Exactly what you ordered. Probably the same color you wanted too.
Right, and a little note said, thank you, call me anytime, Susan, right? And that's their business, $30 million business. So 1, they're here. Number 2, they speak your language. 3, they'll take your order size. Number 4, you'll actually get it tomorrow. So in China, they cannot run that business model. So now that'd be a hard company to run at $300 million scale, right? And they're not going to grow to $300 million, and they're not trying.
They have their pocket.
They have their pocket. And so we are able to function in the same pockets. People need their kitchens done. The supply chain isn't feeding them what they need. They can't get it. It arrived broken. The wrong color came. And they're like, oh, you can ship it from Dallas. It's Monday. It'll be here on Thursday. I'm in California. Great. So we can run a $50 million, $60 million business.
And it flies beneath the radar and kind of the enemy lines of the market volatility.
Yeah, it flies beneath the market volatility, 100%. People need it, and they're willing they recognize they're going to pay for the value that they want anyway, which is certainty on timing, certainty on they get what they ordered, and just comfort that there's somebody on the other side to pick up the phone and discuss and get the information, or if there's a dispute, someone to talk to. And in America, like if you have a dispute with a Chinese company,
good luck.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have a time limit on this podcast to get into that. I don't know if anybody here has ordered something and then called customer service and it's been overseas, and then chaos ensues. But
chaos.
What you're not going to get is service for a customer.
Or Susie.
What do you call that line? The next thing is, for us, I think the reason we lean in and are spending more and are investing while other people are pulling back is because we leverage technology. And technology is how you win in the market when it's stable. So when people are doubling down on aging technology and you have next generation technology, it just gives you greenfield to operate in.
Yeah, you're playing in a space there's no one else.
It's greenfield. So now, you're, instead of having 5 competitors or 9 competitors, there's 1 or 2 or none. The great example is stadium seating. Stadium seating at one point was a technology, right? Where the theaters that I grew up with, if you went to the theater and you sat behind somebody, and if they were 1 centimeter taller than you, like, you missed half the movie, right? And now you go in and you can have Wilt Chamberlain. Is Wilt Chamberlain still alive?
I think
Feels
so.
like not. So Shaq sits down in front of you, or LeBron James in a theater, and you're like, I don't care. You can see over him today in at least here in Carlsbad, California. At Sinopolis, you have a seat, you press a button, you order sushi or some sliders.
They serve you nice food there.
Yeah, tofu sliders, whatever. Wilt Chamberlain comes in. Shaq, LeBron, Michael Jordan sits down in front of you.
Will Chamberlain did pass away.
Okay, yeah,
in
that's what I thought.
1999.
Okay, yeah, it just happened, right? He passed away so long ago. I don't want to get sued or anything for malicious malignment, but he passed away so long ago, I couldn't remember that he passed away.
I will say
Anyway.
my one anecdote is he has one photo of him holding the 100.
Yeah.
So when I was at BlackRock, I made 100 calls in one day.
Yeah.
So they put my face over his
Oh, nice.
holding the 100.
Nice.
But we still couldn't find video evidence of his 100-point game.
So stadium seating was a technology, and it came about at a time there was a pullback. So the people who understood that technology and they put it in markets, boom, they just own the entire submarket. And so that was amazing. I say that's a technology just as an example, but some of the technologies we use are very sophisticated and they cost $15 million. So some of our competition is like, I'm going to wait on the technology. The old stuff we have, they've got a couple $100 million of equipment that's aging but works fine, isn't falling apart. And they're like, we'll just use our existing equipment. We're not going to invest in new equipment. Investing in technology that's meaningful to the end consumer while everybody else is pulling back because they've got incumbent loads of equipment that they're just going to use is a real advantage that we have.
And something that stood out to me, and it has consistently the past year, has been a lot of the competitors in the portfolio company. Their technology and their equipment is fine. They use that language. It's fine. It's not good. It's not great. It's not market leading, market edge, competitive, whatever. It's just fine. And so when we bring in technology that's really, we're setting the pace, we're watching people behind us as we're setting the tone, it's been so interesting to watch and learn from that because literally the competitors will say, hey, yeah, it's fine. It'll do. It's good enough. We have okay EBITDA on it.
And I don't want to get too nuanced, but the problem is when they get new technology, because they don't have that technology leaning, they don't know how to use it. This is when the aliens came to Earth, Will Smith in Independence Day. Welcome to Earth, boom. And so you have this like alien technology and they're trying to use it and can't fly the spaceship, don't know which way is up or down or sideways, it clunks against the wall. Like they hit they serve me a coffee button and it shoots a laser. They want to shoot a laser and it shoots a missile and they can't control it because it's alien technology. That same metaphor applies to like the competitors in the industry that our portfolio company is in. Like the technology, it's like alien technology because they aren't used to, they're still on Dell PCs. They haven't converted to flat screen monitors yet. They're not running Slack channels. They're not doing aggressive social media. Their website are like Chinese downloads from Template Monster. They're just in no way, they're not on Salesforce, or they don't have a CRM, they're not integrated, they're not on voice over IP, and they're just very clunky industrial business models. So when they get a new technology, it's alien to them. They don't know how to deploy it.
Makes sense. I think it was the New York Times a couple days ago. They had one of their political illustrations or their cartoons, and it was two aliens coming down. There's a little market sideways conversation, but the two aliens come down and they go look at a financial analyst, and the financial analyst goes, "Welcome to the golden age of private credit."
Nice. Yeah.
So it's just crazy looking at the private credit markets and the equity markets and everything like that. But the aliens come down when you're talking about the alien technology. Yeah. And the first thing he says is, "Welcome to the golden age of private credit."
It's going to be here for another 90 days. Another thing that lets us lean in is the strength of our partners. So when you look at the way Americans establish companies, right, you have this very complex chain of very weak partners. And so you see it like you have a SaaS company that does a very specific logistical thing for you, but they're like 3 people, they got $2 million of funding, and if they don't get more funding, they can just collapse and remove a piece of the way your company works. And then you got to build that software for yourself. And so our main partner is a 1,000-person company, been around for 65 years and doesn't have any private equity in it. In our manufacturing supply chain, we have a company that is very well established. They just raised $50 million. They have an established base of manufacturing. We ourselves have raised, we put almost $30 million into the company. So there's our partners and the people we rely on are well capitalized, have exit capital, been in the industry a long time, aren't controlled by private equity. And so we have a very stable base of partners, and that also lets us lean in. And I think the last thing, sort of counterintuitive, is because of our technological strength, because of our capital markets know-how, experience, and strength, because of the relatively small and we can cherry pick the markets we're in, we're not discounting. And that is counterintuitive, but the thing that lets us lean in is we don't have to discount. Once you start discounting, the whole ball of yarn starts unraveling, right? Because it's a signal. Now you're just going for the bottom.
It's pretty much a race to the bottom.
Race to the bottom. Now it signals
Yeah.
to the buyers that you never really were honest in the first place.
And it encourages them to sit out even longer.
Encourage
They
them.
don't want to catch the falling knife.
That signals to them like, hey, I was going to buy, but how low will this go? And then every sale is high friction, because once you signal there's a discount, then people just for sport are like, how hard can I push these guys? They're weak. I don't know why in our country we like pounce on the weak. Like when somebody offers a discount, then we're like, okay, they're obviously hurting. They want to move some inventory, but like you want to buy from a company that makes money, right? So they can do customer service, so they can take returns, so they can do refunds, so they can innovate, so they can have good packaging, so they can do, or my gym, Equinox, if you go to Equinox, at least here in Southern California, they close at 6 o'clock on,
Really?
yeah, Saturday and Sunday, and sometimes on Friday. They close at 6. I don't know what time you get off work.
That's a different lifestyle gym.
I know. So I asked them, I'm like, why do you close at 6? And they go, because our workers need a life too. I'm like, yeah, but can you just stagger have them come in at late 2 shift and then have people come in from noon to
Do you ask
8?
them that?
Or could you just visit my childhood when I worked 12 hours a day as a 10-year-old? You know the old story. Our dad would send us to work at the factory, and we would have to come home 5 hours before we wake up, and he would put us to sleep with a belt, and we lived in a box in the middle of a road. But we thought it was a lake, but it was just a puddle. You know, but it was good. It was a good life for us. Taught us a lot of lessons.
It is what it is.
So
I haven't heard that one,
you haven't heard that one?
but I'm going to use that.
Look, it's called The Four Yorkshiremen. You're going to watch it and be like, oh my God, Oren gave me the funniest skit.
Yeah, I'm going to be reusing that.
Yeah, Four Yorkshiremen.
okay.
It's so funny.
You're going to be saying, hey, Nate stole my whole flow.
Yeah, it's really good. You'll be sharing it with people. We don't want to discount and get on this slippery slope, have the ball of yarn start to unwind, have every sale be friction, and we can just hold the line, right? And really, the way we sell is this. We have it and you don't. If you want it, you have to be nice. You have to not take up a bunch of our time, and you have to place an order. After you place the order, you have to take money from your actual bank account and put it in our bank account, and then we'll ship it to you. That's how we work, right? And that's our tagline, and that's how we sell. Not, we're so desperate for this order, how much money do you have? We'll take that. And then everything starts to unwind. So the ability to hold the line from discounting. So I think those are the things that allow us to be stable. A lot of it is size. A lot of it is technology. A lot of it is our trade, the quality of our trade partners. And the other thing is the ability just to hold the line on pricing. Those are the things.
I think it's a really good glimpse into what's going on in a private equity company, a private equity backed company with 300 plus investors, and how it's grown so much, but it's yet still so nimble.
Yeah.
And can hang out beneath the market conditions for as long as it has been and for this foreseeable future. I think it's a unique way to see the growth of a company too.
By the way, if you're interested in seeing this company, it's amazing. Contact Nate Woodman, Nate at Intersection Capital.
Yeah, you can do Nate at Intersection Capital.
Nate at
.com.
Nate at Intersection Capital, and just say, hey, Nate, I'd like to see the company. But we make these slabs, and I think the thing that I love about the slabs, you can't fake. They weigh 1,200 pounds. You can't fake it. You know the story of Juicerio, right? So Juicerio made this juice. This is another one to look up. It's awesome. So Juicerio made this juice machine that made these incredible juices. What you do is you take the packet, like an espresso packet, you put it in the juice machine, the machine will make all kinds of noises and squeeze out this juice, from the packet. And then someone at the New York Times, I believe, or Washington Post, one of those investigative journalistic papers, found out that you would make the exact same juice if you just cut open the packet and pour it in a glass. No difference between the machine, so you don't need the machine. Right? That company
and the machine was huge.
The machine was huge.
It was huge, and it was just like a little thing in the middle pushing the packet down.
So that's faking it.
Yeah.
we produce 1,200-pound slabs that are made of real stone, and there's no way to fake it. And it's very hard to do. You're not doing a home garage. Nobody's starting this up. You don't have mom and pop competitors. Our competitors are like Hyundai, like Lucky Go, like multi-billion-dollar corporations. So yes, you have the competition from that side. Believe me, I'd much rather deal with Ford. I'd much rather deal with Home Depot. I'd much rather deal with Hyundai as a competitor than every mom and pop local. So you think about like epoxy flooring, right? To enter the epoxy flooring market, you need $9 and a map to your local Home Depot, right? And then you are in the epoxy flooring market. And so somebody can do it on the fly. If you have employees, if you have a company, an upstart can undercut you. Doesn't have a license, doesn't have a contracting license, doesn't have an employee, doesn't have training, doesn't have a supply relationship, gets the stuff from Home Depot and just does it. And they can win a job away from you, right? For us, like, you have to have 170,000 square feet. You need to have 15, 20, $50 million of, cutting edge equipment. You need to have people from Europe who know how to operate the equipment, and you need to have distributor relationships that are real, and you have to have the logistics and material handling equipment to handle 1,200-pound slabs.
And the technology to actually know how to make the slabs.
And even if you have the equipment, you need to have the chemistry and the technology and the know-how and an experienced team. Like, this is not something that somebody, I'm going to start one in my local market. There's 3 of these in the United States. We're the 4th. All right. And nobody is going down to Home Depot or Harbor Freight and competing with us. If you want to see this company, contact Nate. I think it'd be really interesting for you to see a private equity company being built from the inside by us in the style that we talked about here today. Okay, I know it started out the game of coffee, but we moved into the game of money. We talked about the economy. I think there was a lot here to chew on and digest, and we'll see you next time on Oren Klaff's Game of Money podcast.